So Mark Debbin's going to come on and share some of his experiences with you guys. Big round of applause for Mark, please.
Thank you. Well, great to see everyone out here today. 2020, eh?
Yeah.
How's the new normal working out for you? How the hell did we get here? I mean, if you told someone on New Year's Day 2020, can you hear me okay? You can't hear me, okay. Can we? How's that? Is that any better? Not really? Right to your mouth, okay. Well, this is as good as it gets. So if you had told someone on New Year's Day 2020 that we would be living our lives the way we are now, they'd have told you to get off the crack pipe and check yourself into the nearest psychiatric institution. And yet, here we are. So, how did this happen? Well, to my thinking, it's two things. It's down to the power of mind control and propaganda put out there by the treacherous lamestream media, who are traitors to this land, to the people, to creation itself. And when all of this is over, they can take their place alongside all the treacherous sellout politicians and business leaders as well, because they're all going the same place. And it's also down to this blind belief that people have in the institution of government, and the belief that one group in society has the right to dictate the behaviors and the permissions for everyone else in society. But unfortunately, most people are under that mind control, and so they do everything that tyrannical, despotic governments tell them. And that's why we're in the mess we're in, and that's what we have to reverse. I mean, it would be one thing if there really were a deadly virus that was going around killing people in massive volumes. But from everything we've heard today and everything we're able to research for ourselves, we know that's not the case. I mean, first of all, there's doubt as to whether there's even a virus in the first place, and there's division of opinion as to what a virus really is. But even if this thing is real, then as we've heard today, the survival rate is something like 99.997%. The death rate, even by the artificially inflated figures, and we know that they've been putting COVID-19 as the cause of death on every death certificate going. We know that the figures have been artificially inflated. It's even been admitted by the government. But even factoring in all of that, the death rate is something like a fraction of 0.1%. So the whole thing has been blown massively out of proportion, and we're being played big time. I want to speak a bit about the satanically inverted society in which we live. So, a tenet of Satanism, not to get into it too heavily, but it involves taking something that is natural and inherent to creation and turning it on its head, turning it upside down and back to front. And unfortunately, many of the controllers of this narrative and many of the instigators of it, it turns out, are dark occultists who adhere to satanic and Luciferian doctrines. We don't have time to get majorly into that today, but they observe these tenets, and it does influence what they do. I just want to read a quote which many of you might be familiar with. It comes from the author Michael Elner. It's been often repeated and quoted, but it bears repeating in the circumstances. So he said, "Just look at us. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health, lawyers destroy justice, psychiatrists destroy minds, scientists destroy truth, major media destroys information, religions destroy spirituality, and governments destroy freedom." Ain't that the truth? dangerous COVID insanity. So you have people complying with the tyrannical government rules and regulations because they believe this makes them a good person, a good citizen, that it makes them virtuous. They believe, or they've been programmed to think of the likes of us that would get together as we are today without masks, not observing social distancing, because we realize it's all based on lies, it's all bad science, and it achieves nothing. But we get framed as being dangerous, and we're framed as the ones that are
Doesn't pay the bill. It's a blip. It's a blip.
Megaphone.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I think they're going to try and get the generator back going. I feel like Piers Corbyn now. But hopefully without the arrest. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So we're the ones that are getting painted as the dangerous ones that are affecting everyone's safety because we're not observing these measures. But look at how everything's been twisted and inverted. We are the ones who are standing up for the rights and freedoms, not just for ourselves, but for everybody else.
Yes.
And yet we're being framed as dangerous people who are helping to spread the virus. Meanwhile, the vast majority of the population are walking around in their masks,
Yes.
being fearful the way they've been instructed to be, thinking this makes them good people, thinking they're doing the right thing. There's no virtue in being a slave.
Yay.
There's no virtue in kowtowing to tyrannical governmental regimes. And that's how everything gets inverted, because people don't realise these are the mind games that are played on them by the treacherous mainstream media. And why do people even still believe a word that comes out of the mouth of these mainstream media or lamestream media operations when they've got a proven track record of lying to us time and time again? How short people's memories are. Wasn't it the very mainstream media that's telling us to be afraid of this virus that told us about weapons of mass destruction coming out of Iraq, which turned out to be a lie?
back to the mic. Didn't they tell us that?
Yeah. Yes.
Wasn't it the same mainstream media that told us Osama bin Laden had been taken out by a crack team of Navy SEALs on the 1st of May, interesting date, 2011, 10 years after he actually died at the end of 2001, as reported by a whole load of Middle Eastern newspapers at the time. The same mainstream media that told us Iraqi soldiers in the first Gulf War had been going into hospitals and taking babies out of incubators and leaving them on the floor to die, which later turned out to be a complete concoction, a complete lie, and the woman who told the story was the daughter of an American ambassador to one of these countries. The same mainstream media, the same BBC, where they had their reporter Jane Stanley standing in front of World Trade Center 7 telling us it had collapsed some 20 odd minutes before it actually had, because they jumped ahead a bit in the script. It's the same mainstream media that's giving you all these inflated false death and infection figures for COVID-19, and yet people are still believing them even after all these lies. So I equate it to, if you had a confidence trickster that knocked on your front door and asked you to invest 100 quid in this new amazing scheme that he's got, and you can get rich really quick, and you take him at his word and you say, oh, okay, mate, here's 100 quid, and he clears off with your 100 quid and you never hear from him again. If that same guy, 1 year later, comes knocking on your door and says, I've got a great investment scheme, all you got to do is give me 100 quid, are you going to go, okay, here's 100 quid, or are you going to go, you've been here before, you're a con artist, you're a thief, get gone, I'm not listening to a word you say. And yet when you equate that situation to the media, people are prepared to give them second chances again and again and again. And they also believe all the lies that come out of the mouths of these government ministers. And believe it or not, there are still people who are actually of the belief that the government cares about us, and all of this virus narrative is about keeping us safe because they care. You know, Matt Hancock is just less of the ham. He's a lovely guy, and he just cares about us and wants to keep us all safe. You know, you can see it in his eyes. So, all these traitors in the mainstream media, they belong in jail, along with Boris Johnson, along with Matt Hancock, less of the ham, Chris Whitty, Neil Ferguson, Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, and the rest of these traitors to humanity. I also want to speak a bit about the lost art of common sense. Actually, before I do that, there was a quote I wanted to mention just related to the media, and it came from David Rockefeller from several years ago. This is, again, a very well-known quote, but it really illustrates the point. David Rockefeller, on record, said once, "We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected our promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the likes of publicity during those years." So that speaks right there to how much the elite controllers rely on their pathetic mouthpieces in the mainstream media to do their bidding, and how they realise that if it wasn't for them, the gig would be completely up. And how many people who are cowering in fear behind their masks and looking suspiciously at people crossing them in the street would be behaving this way if they never turned on their TV and never picked up a so-called newspaper? None of us would have any idea that anything was different in the world. So let me talk about the lost art of common sense, because it seems it's not as common as you might think. The ability to critically think about a situation. You know, the absurd, farcical things that we've been told by the government and the media over the past few weeks ought to have alerted any grown adult of advanced years capable of critical thought to the fact that we're being lied to and mugged off. And I like to think that many of the children in attendance here today would be able to see through some of the stupid, ridiculous things that we've been told. And yet seemingly legions of grown adults can't. So just by way of an example, last weekend I was up in Scotland, and they've got some very draconian rules up there at the hands of wee Jimmy Cranky, you know, Nicola Sturgeon. This whole situation is really showing the fascist tyrants of the world for who they are, because many of them are just reveling in the opportunity to bring out that inner fascist in them, and Nicola Sturgeon is one of them. So they've got some very tough rules. Now, if you want to go into a restaurant or a pub, you're able to walk in and go to your table without wearing a face nappy. However, if you want to go into a restaurant or a pub which happens to be inside a hotel, well, now you've got to wear a face nappy as you walk into the hotel, you've got to keep it on as you walk through the corridor, you've got to keep it on as you walk to your table, and you can only take it off when you're seated at your table. If you want to get up to go to the toilet, you have to put it on again, and you can only take it off again when you're sat at your table. So the implication is that this virus is really clever, really smart, and it knows the difference between a hotel and a restaurant. And if you're walking around in a hotel without a face mask, it's gonna get you. The rules about how far you're allowed to be from the next person. So 2 meters is fine, but 1.9 meters, the virus has a tape measure and it'll work it out, and if you're 1.9 meters, it's gonna get you. The face mask rule. The latest batch were brought in on the 8th of August. So the virus has a calendar and it checks the date. 7th of August, fair play, you're okay. 8th of August, catches you without a mask, it's coming in, it's gonna get you. And the masks get introduced months and months after the peak of the so-called virus, when we're told it's supposed to be on the wane. None of it makes sense, but grown adults are putting up with it and cooperating with it because of this blind belief in the authority of government. Common sense, critical thinking is a lost art, so it seems. So at what point does the denial stop, and at what point does people standing up for what they know to be right begin? These people walking around following all the rules, do they really believe that if they just wait this thing out for a few months, do everything that they're told, then the virus will eventually go away and we can all go back to how we were living before? I think most people think like that. They don't realise that there's no going back to the way things were. And we have to ensure that moving forward, the new normal that we do all experience is one that's shaped in our own interests and one that we actually want to be of benefit to us rather than the one they've got planned for us. Think of the regulations that were brought in the wake of 9/11. All the ridiculous rituals you go through at airports now, putting your little shampoo in little bottles, you know, because you can't have big bottles of liquid going through the X-ray machine. All of this stuff was introduced 19 years ago, and there's no sign of it being rolled back. So none of this is going to be rolled back until we make them stop. They're not going to stop until we make them stop, and that's what we're going to do. Another quote. This one came from George H.W. Bush. It was given to a journalist, Sarah McClendon, in an interview where he said, "Sarah, if the American people," and you can apply that to people anywhere in the world, "ever find out what we have done, they would chase us down the street and lynch us." Meaning they know that the minute enough of us figure out what they've been doing to us and the fact that the power lies with us and we have the numbers, is game over for them. They know this. We have to make that happen. Nobody's going to do it but us. The time is now. If not now, then when? If not you, then who? We won't get another chance like this. Thank you. I've been asked just to give a mention to the COVID-19 Truth Tour. There's leaflets about it up here, but it's kicking off on the 1st of September and it's going to, I think, 27 or 28 towns and cities all over the UK, spreading messages like this to people that need to hear it. So if you want to be a part of that tour, if you want to find out where it's touching down, there's plenty of information about that up here. And I'll be happy to have a chat with anyone over at the table here if you want to come and speak to me about anything. Thanks again. Thank you, Mark.
Hi guys, I'm Jimmy, I'm from London. I've been helping running the marches since April, so we're building some good momentum and it's good to see everyone standing up in Bristol. The main reason I'm here is because my son's unfortunately vaccine injured. He hasn't spoken in over 2 years. My voice sounds really slow for some reason, but must be something wrong. But he hasn't spoken in 2 years. He had serious side effects, a catalogue of side effects, which led to an operation, and we still have no improvement. The second reason I'm here is they are conditioning us for hell, people. The social distancing, the mask wearing, even worse, the normalisation of paedophilia all over social media, all over everywhere. We cannot take this anymore, people. We as good people, as good parents, have a duty to children that need our help. So please, guys, do the right thing. Start standing up for the children. We have an event in London next week, 1 PM, Hyde Park, Speaker's Corner, down Oxford Street, up to the BBC, to tell them what we think about their dirty paedophile statue, their fake news, and a catalogue again of things we're not happy with those guys. So please, guys, do the right thing. Stand up for the children. Stand up for yourselves even more. People who stand up for themselves, we get ridiculed. We are the people. We are the power. We are the 99%. Stand up for your rights. Stand up for your children's rights. We will win. We have love. They have hate. They have fear. Love is 10 times more powerful than fear. It's just more prominent than love at the moment. But we need to turn those tables, come together, spread love. Don't let any negative energy change what you think or what you believe in. So please, guys, let's stand together, stand strong. We are the people, we are the power, we are the 99%. Thank you, Bristol. Thank you for standing up. Thank you so much. And I'll enjoy helping you guys along with your march. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give it up one more time from Jimmy, a good personal friend of mine. He's been there from the beginning representing us all. One more time, please, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so last, or second to last, penultimate, we have lovely Zenalia, who is going to do a poem, I believe. Then we're going to have Earl speaking briefly, and then we will be going on to our march. So give it up for Zenalia.
Hi everyone. I'm just going to do one poem for you guys, and then after the march I'll do another for you. Just let the words speak for itself. How can I not express myself when I feel something so deep? See, the words that I speak, they live in me so deep, and I don't wish to be weak. I am the strongest at my peak, I prosper wiser. My voice, it echoes loud, haunting the dried up valleys of the lost. See, they forgot about the water, the sacred woman, sacred daughter, all of those animals in slaughter. A blind eye turned to the face of a lie, burn something you surely deny, learn that the mama of the calf cries, and all the while everyone's souls sigh, because your realer self knows just what is wrong and what is right. It don't feel right, and if you're unable to feel it once revealed to it, you need the light to purify your mind, peel back the layers from your heart. We are all an expression of infinite art, more than sparks, flames amongst the dark. Here on a mission I embark, to override and overcome, downloading light codes from the sun, releasing pain gained from the past. At last my healing has begun. Allow the motions, motives, means well, divine devotion, potion, clean spell, abracadabra, floating dream dwell, a serene walk upon the cracks of shells from hell. Thank you.
Okay, hello again. So, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Earl X from the Stand Up X. My awakening started about 23 years ago with the event of my eldest daughter, and I was introduced into a system of legalese. Does anyone know legalese? I tell you what, I'm going to ask you a question, and if you don't have your hand up, yeah, I want you to look around for people that do have their hand up. Put your hand up if you know the difference between legal and lawful. Have a look around, guys.
That's not enough, nowhere near enough. You need to understand the difference between lawful and legal. Because if you're living in a legal system, okay, I do an analogy. Big box is law. Matchbox is legal. So if you're living from the legal system, that matchbox is inside the law system. That is your existence, mentally. Does that make sense? So we're governed by legality, but if you understand your true identity, your true autonomous self, you live under natural law, which is common law. Okay, you're born with that human right. And that's my journey up until today. And who knows John Harris? It's an illusion. So these are names I'm going to throw out to you. So John Harris was a pioneer way back. And it's called It's an Illusion. Moving forward, there's a place called Common Law Courts. It's a website. It will give you mass amounts of information about to understand the legality and the lawful existence that you have. Okay, you can free yourself mentally, which then opens up your soul. Because we're controlled by our pineal gland, which is our mind center. There's one just over there, right by that castle. There's a little statue, that's a pineal gland. Everyone thinks it's an acorn. It's the pineal gland, guys, that's how they're controlling us. Anyway, moving forward. So we're gonna start the march in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, that gives you guys 10 minutes to use the toilet, the trees, you know, whatever. Okay, so do's and don'ts. We want to be as polite as possible to the people that we're going to come in contact with, because the ones that are not here are the ones we're trying to reach out to. And ideally, you want to reach out to people the way that you'd like to be reached out to, with politeness, with manners, with smiles. And remember, your soul shines brighter than 1,000 suns, and it shines out of your eyes and out of your smile. So let people see that. Let people see that you're upbeat, you're joyful, you're healthy, and you're friendly, okay? So rather than saying, take off the mask, please take off your mask. It's not beneficial for your health. So try and add a please in front of whatever you say to anyone you meet. I'm going to ask you to enlist some people. We've got about 1,200 mini flyers and other things to hand out. We'd like people at the front of the march to hand out those flyers to the mainstream media watchers, the people that listen to the news, the radio, the TV, that haven't woken up yet. So we need some people to come forward after this to take some leaflets. Any volunteers? Fantastic, thank you. So what's going to happen when we go on the march? If you're not interested on the march, you don't want to come on the march, stay here. There'll be music. There's also some face painting kits for the kids, which is free. We just need some people that can do face painting. Any volunteers? We've got 2 face painting kits and we've got a book on how to do it. So if people are willing to offer their services to paint some kids up, then that's there. We're doing a circle march all the way back to the park, roughly half an hour, 40 minutes. Come back, relax, chill out, network, hug, kiss, cuddle, etc. Okay guys, 10 minutes and we're going to leave from here. Take care guys, big up.
So yeah, we're going to take a route down through Gloucester Park this way towards Bristol Bridge and Baldwin Street. Then we're going to double back along the road in front of the park, down Union Street, through Broadmead, around the circus and back to the park. So if you are staying here, do enjoy the music. If you've got friends at home that haven't come, get all the friends, tell them we're going to have a little party. We're not doing social distancing, we're just doing love and freedom. And we'll wind that down at some point in the early evening, mid-evening. So hopefully we'll see you back here after the march. Thank you.